Communication is really important in any relationship you have. You have to have communication when you deal with people outside your life. You have to have communication skills when you deal with people inside your life. So being able to talk to someone and be truthful and honest and be able to do it without being hurtful is important. This is something that I'm still learning because I have this blunt personality and I have no filter, and that don't help. I can communicate, but I usually communicate with hurting people's feelings. And it's not something I mean to do or plan to do. It's just something that I do, and I don't know how not to. I'm learning. I'm trying to learn. But I found that a lot of people lack communication skills. And they will totally ignore you rather than talk to you and talk the situation out. A lot of people do not handle confrontation very well. So if they feel like they're going to be confronted on something that maybe they have done or maybe the way that they feel, they avoid conversations altogether. And that's not a good thing. And I think as human beings, especially this day and age, a lot of people do that. A lot of people just will withdraw, avoid. They use avoidance rather than to speak and have conversations. And I think that's where a lot of relationships fail, whether it be friendships, relative relations, sibling relationships, parent-child relationships, parent relationships, spousal relationships, even work relationships. People are afraid to communicate, one. Then people get very hurt they get hurt very easily. They get their feelings hurt very easily. Because we all take things very differently, right? We all handle things at a different level. And so you have to learn to deal with the person's level of being hurt when you're communicating. You got to be able to communicate without hurting this person's feelings, and that's hard to do. And I'm a very honest and blunt person, and sometimes I don't like the truth, just like anybody else don't like the truth. Sometimes I get my feelings hurt, just like anybody else. But I would rather have my feelings hurt in an honest conversation, not one that's meant to hurt me, not one that's out to destroy me, But I mean, if you're being communicating, and you're being honest about something that you feel, I would rather you be honest than not honest and I find out later. It's like having an honest, a friend is not your friend if they don't tell you the truth. You know what I mean? If you sit there and sugarcoat everything and say, oh yeah, that dress looks positively beautiful on you, and it makes them really look horrible, washed out, and just don't do them any good, then really, are you being a friend? Are you? Or you can say, yeah, you know what? Maybe that's not the one. I mean, there are ways of doing it. You don't have to say, oh, well, that looks horrible on you. And, you don't have to be like that. You can just say, well, maybe that's not the one for you. Let's try another one. There are ways of communicating. And I think communication, we as human beings in real life lack communication. And I think the media got to the point where they made communication look like if you one-up somebody, that's communication. You're winning at communication. If you put someone down and you make them feel that high, you're winning at communication. No, that's really not winning at communication, and that's not ways to make friends. And it's definitely a way to make an enemy, right? But I think we have, in society, people have gotten to where they think that is a really cool thing to one-up people in conversations so that they can come out looking good after they made you feel bad. That's not a way to communicate either. God talks about us loving each other, right? but being honest. And my daughters and I actually just had this conversation about being honest, but yet not hurting people's feelings. So, like, instead of saying, oh, I just remembered I got someplace I gotta go, I can't make it. Okay, that's not really being honest. Instead, say, well, I really don't want to go. And then when they say, I really don't want to go, don't try to guilt them into it. Allow them the opportunity, to be honest without guilting them out of their honesty. That's why people tend to not be honest, because people will guilt them to get them to do what they want. And that is peer pressure. And we as adults, we do that all the time. We do that all the time. It's not a good thing. And so in our family, we are trying to learn to communicate better. And we are learning to be completely honest and communicate without hurting other people's feelings. We're trying to teach our children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren, how to communicate effectively. And we can't teach them that if we don't learn that. Now, me, myself, and I, and my daughters, and my son, we have this ability to hurt people's feelings without even trying. Because we are so blunt. We are so brutally blunt. And it's not something we mean to do. It's not something we set out to do. It is something that just happens because we have no filter. So we are having to learn how to have a filter. And it's not the easiest thing at all. It's not the easiest thing. So we're learning how to have a filter. But I've noticed that communication among adults people do not know how to communicate these days. I think communication is a lost skill that adults, human beings, have lost. In translation somewhere, it has gotten lost. And we need to relearn how to communicate and be honest, because we all tell these little white lies. Oh, no, I don't, I have someplace else I need to go. Instead of just saying, well, I really don't want to go, but thank you. And that's all we have to say. But we're so afraid to be brutal. We're so afraid to just be honest because it's going to hurt somebody's feelings, or because that person is going to guilt us into going, right? So in our family, we have decided to take on this new way of communicating, and no holds barred, but without hurting people's feelings, right? Communication is something that everybody needs to know. You can't really have a good relationship if you can't communicate. I know this. I've lived that. And if you can't communicate with each other without screaming and going off on each other on a tantrum, without getting your feelings hurt, without being able to express your feelings because you feel like you're walking on eggshells, that's not good either. You really, really, really need to learn how to communicate. And I think going forward, wanting a relationship, that's something I need to learn, is how to communicate. And hopefully, whoever my spouse is out there, wherever he may be, he will learn how to communicate too, because communication is a very important part of being in a relationship. And it's never too late to learn new things. So learn to communicate well. Learn to communicate without hurting somebody's feelings. And learn to communicate, to be honest without hurting someone's feelings. It takes skill. And, if you're competitive, make this competitive. Make it a point to be really good at it. And so, anyway, conversation for conversation. God bless you. Have a good day.